Awesome. Today we're going to talk about the importance of a user-centric product using data. And the takeaway is understanding the importance of the relationship between product support, our customer, and the product engineering teams building these experiences for their users. We will be exploring areas that we found success in establishing and maintaining a user-centric mindset. But first, let's take a second and talk about Quizlet. For anyone here who's not familiar, Quizlet's the go-to study platform for learners globally to help them practice and master whatever it is they are learning. Quizlet provides students with digital study tools for homework, guidance, and test prep. We answer over 1 billion questions a week. 92% of our learners report better grades, and we cater to teachers and students. And so diving into what a product support specialist at Quizlet does is we specialize in bridging the gap between our support operations, product engineering, and the millions of students and teachers using Quizlet around the globe. We're proud to serve as trusted allies to our users and act as the voice of our users to our teams at Quizlet to create the best possible product that we can. So jumping into some of the tools that we have in our toolkit, we use wide variety of different tools here at Quizlet to help us leverage what our users are telling us to be able to deliver a full story experience to our product and engineering teams with product delivery.
Awesome. So yeah, thinking about the notion of Usertopia, anchoring our discussion today are the work streams and areas we found opportunities and had success moving things more towards a user-centered mindset and approach. Supporting support, stewards of product quality, user experience champions, all three of these facets work both alone and together to power the work we do in this space. By being loyal support allies, we can uphold the standard of delivering a high quality product while also having the platform to share feedback and incorporate the user perspective into short and long-term planning. Next slide, please. Getting into our first section, supporting support, we recognize that contributing to and having a strong support team is essential to helping users when they need assistance and just overall improving the user experience. This slide here underscores some of the key ways we partner with support ops. And by being sound here, we're then able to confidently work in our other areas of ownership. Documentation is a theme you will notice throughout today, and support plans to introduce agents to new features and updates are one piece of that. Building from that, Liz and I hold weekly training sessions with agents where we highlight those plans, walk through those changes, and connect on expectations and required product knowledge. This year, we've also invested in how we work with our newly added subject matter experts who are support team members with extensive knowledge of the product and can help us facilitate support initiatives. We've also carefully implemented a new ticket taxonomy that helps us categorize support contexts more effectively and makes it easier for us to then subsequently use that data. In the end, it is important that we serve as the connective tissue between our users, support, and our internal product development teams. And these 5 examples help us move closer to that goal. Next slide, please. And speaking of documentation, this is a constant point of emphasis for us, and it's definitely the case when it comes to making sure that support content is available and ready for both users and support agents alike. Throughout our role, communication is key, and we must lean into the relationships we've built with our teams and our cross-functional partners. They help make sure we have all of the necessary details and that we can evolve that knowledge from internal documents and engineering tickets to external messaging that will help us assist millions of users. So whether it's eligibility and enrollment, trust and safety implications, or marketing timelines, we know things that are covered and we can hopefully avoid any surprises. Next slide, please.
Diving in a little deeper to documentation, we utilize our ticket taxonomy in a scalable practice here at Quizlet. We've implemented a process for our support agents to categorize and track feature requests, bugs, pain points, etc., within Zendesk, which is our ticketing queue, our ticketing system. The prominence of documentation also extends to the work that we did to optimize our support taxonomy. And as we develop the product, the biweekly meetings that Jordan spoke about are held to cover the content, discuss the relevance of these current fields, as well as the need for new fields as we scale. So learning about what we have had in the past and what we're going to need to implement in the future, being aware of anything that our teams are going to be doing and implementing those proactively so we can get our finger on the pulse of what our users could be writing in about in a proactive way. So to give you all an idea of what our ticket taxonomy looks like, this is how our agents can classify product tickets in Zendesk. If you take a look at the component row, you'll see that there's a lot of boxes, which are parts of our product that users will write in about. Our feature request component talks about what they'd like to do to those components, make them more accessible, to customize. Platform parity, bring something that we host on our web onto our mobile app. To gamify it, because who doesn't love to learn through games? And we're also able to understand what parts, where these users are asking for these changes to be implemented. So here's one way that we can quantify the user voice using our ticket taxonomy in Zendesk and polling reports. This is an example of users writing in about certain issues on our ticket types. And we equip our product development teams at Quizlet with a reliable stream of user signal to help shape our product planning. The work that we've done here allows us to support data with confidence in the insights that we share with our teams. Again, both in a proactive and in a reactive and in as much of a proactive way as possible. Another example here is showing you our breakdown of what type of user is writing in about type of changes to make to our platform. Here you can see teacher, student, and then a small percentage of unknown. Our teams care a lot about what our users are asking for, as students and teachers may be requesting different changes to the platform. So jumping into the stewards of product quality. And highlighting again what we just talked about with ticket taxonomy, sharing our user signal with speed. To move more quickly with what our users are writing into us about, we implemented some processes to streamline this work. We set an OKR, which we use as an objective and key result to leverage Jira, our project and product management tool, to triage and transfer any user signal that we're receiving. What this means is we are responsible for getting user-reported bugs or pain points to our respective product teams. A bug is, when something on the product is not working at all, and a pain point is something our teams care very deeply about, where something is working as expected, but it's actually causing user friction, and we'd like to deliver additional detail about that to make it, again, a more seamless experience for our user. So this OKR is to get our eyes on any user-reported issue as soon as they're reported. We have a templated outline that we've enabled or empowered our agents to write these tickets from, so everything is standardized. And we utilize additional third-party tools once these are created for Jordan and myself to more quickly seek out additional signal for our product managers and our engineering managers.
Cool. So yeah, here we have an illustration of our work paying off and having an immediate impact in real time. And this was when a bug cropped up last spring that prevented some of our users from being able to study with their flashcards. Having these processes in place, we were able to act quickly, and shortly after the first support contact came in, we were able to create that bug ticket and escalate it to the proper team. So from support agents quickly IDing, hey, we have a problem on our hands, to engineers setting the time aside to prioritize and deploy an immediate fix, we assisted both teams and all of the users navigating that incident. Next slide, please. Cool. And so, yeah, another instance where, really leaning into processes and helping us assist users more efficiently was around an A/B test that launched where we were supporting a new question type. It wasn't long before we began hearing from frustrated users that they couldn't use the options menu the same way as they could with other question types on Quizlet. The respective team was opening to listening to that early signal, We all aligned around a threshold for when we would address that mid-test if need be, and then quickly implemented that fix once the threshold was met. So really here highlighting the buy-in from stakeholders across the development process, we can see, an ability to quickly iterate and provide delight in the interest of our users. So really cool to see that sort of sequence here with a user contacting us, letting us know also in the follow-up that they recognize the changes were made and moving on with their Quizlet experience. Next slide, Liz, thank you.
Leveraging user pain points. As I mentioned earlier, pain points is when the product is built and working as expected, but it's actually creating user friction that wasn't necessarily anticipated by our internal teams. So we have a way of identifying and documenting this where our product knowledge, where we have a system in place to capture these pain points, tracking and synthesizing, and communication and awareness. The stewards of product quality and specifically leveraging the user pain points has created an incredible relationship with PSS, our customers, and our teams that we work with internally of trust. Our product managers and engineering managers know that Jordan and I are kind of a linchpin here as we're so central to what our users are saying to us and that type of story delivery that we're giving to our teams. So, to accelerate the process that we have here, we decided to approach our pain points similar with user reported bugs and the work that we do to mitigate any problems for our users and work with our teams to get that prioritized. Jordan mentioned in the last slide that we were able to resolve these issues really quickly, and users have been able to notice that. So over time, we've been able to identify topics or themes that continue to bubble up. So we have a little bit of a head start when thinking about the issues that we want to begin tracking. And implementing the system within our support efforts allow our agents to assist us so we can get these resolved more quickly.
Cool, and yeah, I think building from what Liz was sharing, really at the core of this is, removing friction. When users let us know, hey, this is something that I'm noticing in my experience, how can we take that feedback and package it up in a way that not only resonates with the team, but allows the team to take action on that. So we've included an example here where we're able to capture that signal and get it in front of the team so we could then see it folded into our upcoming roadmap. And I think we've got another example here on this next slide, just again, continuing to showcase the sort of process that occurs, initially getting that signal and then working with the teams to eventually see that change made directly in the product.
Yeah, and after hearing from users about their desire for more filters and increased functionality that allows them to better target their searches, the team gave the search a complete makeover and redesign that includes a much more user-friendly interface that empowers them to use the tool best for them. And as I had mentioned earlier, this relationship of trust is incredibly important and unique here. Us being able to filter the feedback from users being thrilled about the search terms and wanting to have it just continues to grow and develop that. And Jordan and I are fortunate enough to be brought into those conversations as they're starting to happen.
Sweet. So yeah, directly building from that second section, the third piece to keeping Quizlet users front and center is really seeing ourselves as user experience champions. And so one of the core ways we see all of our work come together is by delivering insights that allow our teams to keep their finger on the pulse of the user experience and by sharing data that can ultimately inform strategy and the direction of the product. It is incumbent upon us to be flexible and to figure out what each situation calls for and what our teams will respond best to. Whether it's a quick pulse check highlighting any signal we've received, or a more in-depth feature snapshot that closely explores a particular experience, we aim to spur action by pairing the qualitative with the quantitative. We also host team-wide user power hours where we show screen recordings to put team members in the POV of real Quizlet users. Last but not least, our product deep dives provide a complete overview for what we are seeing from a support and feedback standpoint. Awesome. So we begin with a quote from an engineer that highlights the sort of observations and ensuing discussions that take place in these video sessions. We watched a user in our team's user power hour attempt to search for Sunridge Middle and got no results, even when they added El Paso. Turns out the middle school name is Sunridge Middle. Is there a way for us to detect that missing space and provide them a match? So without the, necessarily the context of this entire feature and what that experience is, we can see folks, engaging with those recordings and figuring out how can we, make that experience better for our users. Next slide, please. And cool. So as we think about what is gained from these sessions together, they really help our understanding for the ways students and teachers are actually using the product and can help settle the dust around expectations and assumptions versus reality. Approaching things this way has fostered more team-wide alignment when analyzing how things are performing out in the wild, and if there's anything that needs to be addressed sooner than later. Well, so yeah, like many things in life, seeing things with our own eyes tends to resonate more profoundly. And we see from a couple quotes here, that second one, this is great validation that what we're working on will be so helpful to students. And so I think whether your team or company has full story or not, hopefully this section illustrates the power and benefit of looking at user feedback in different dimensions, and the power when communicated right and at the right time that it can have.
Jumping into another way that we champion the user experience is a product deep dive, highlighting here feature requests and touching on the ticket taxonomy that was featured earlier in the presentation. We have a senior product manager quote here just saying, let's give the people what they want. Jordan and I work very closely with our users, our agents, and again, our engineering managers and product managers to understand what it is the users are asking for. The ability to provide this kind of empathy and sort of deep dive research and bring that to our team so that they can prioritize what features to roll out based on user asks and internal goals is incredibly important. And this again brings in a huge level of trust that the teams that Jordan and I support have in us because of the stories that we're telling and delivering from the users. We've been tracking these feature requests since early 2020 and have been rolling out the product deep dives to our teams a couple times a year, giving us a moment to pause, take a look at what our users are asking for, providing a story about when these tickets have started coming in, how many people are asking for them, what type of users, whether it be a student or a teacher, to allow Quizlet to give the people what they want. So with the making the most impact with our feature requests, we do have some required supplies here. A system, or in our case, multiple, talking again about the toolbox that Quizlet has invested in product support with all of the third-party tools that we use to create the most accurate, fast user story as possible. A process, templating and standardizing what type of requests that we're getting from users and how we're delivering those to our teams. Buy-in, being able to use data-driven insights to be like, this is important for these types of users on this date, timing especially, and communication, which ties into all of those. How many users are saying what, the data behind it, et cetera, and getting in as early as possible with a proactive mindset that we can carry. So with all of the right things in place, it'll still come down to framing and how we choose to connect our teams with that signal or data. What's been amazing at Quizlet is how much the teams that Jordan and I support care and how invested they are early on in, if they're launching a product, wanting to know what users are saying. We have the ability to set up Slack channels where if a user writes in about a brand new feature, it'll alert Jordan and myself and our teams right away. If it's a bug, we can go ahead and start investigating so that the downtime is decreased exponentially.
Awesome. So yeah, with everything that we've covered today, we really hope we've been able to showcase how support data can be a great resource that can be leveraged throughout the development process and really keep users at the core of everything you and your teams and your company are doing. And so at this point, we'd love to open things up if anyone has any questions or follow up to the things we shared today. We'd love to make this as much of a discussion as possible.
I don't know if I can see if hands are raised. I might need some help from Connor to look at that. Oh, okay, seeing some questions come in. I believe the session is being recorded. Connor, can you speak to that? It's saying recording on my end. I'm just not sure when to tell you if it'll be accessible to view later. I see Jessica asked a question about why we use the phrase signal. And I actually really love that question. I think it's trying to think of a good way to answer it. It's sort of like a blip on the radar whenever we are trying to understand what users are writing in and asking about. It's gaining signal to what it is they're trying to say. And Jordan and I can then migrate closer towards that using the tools that we have at our disposal to understand what it is that signal actually means. I kind of think about it a little bit as like a sonar. We're kind of always looking for something out there, but when a user props up and says something, that's a signal that we want to chase a little bit. Jordan, I don't know if you would think about that any differently.
No, I think you nailed it right on top. Love it.
Cool. Awesome. I am looking at the rest of the questions. Lexi asked, how do you get to order when you're starting from 0 to total chaos? So, how do we get to order when we're starting from 0 or total chaos? So Jordan and I right now are the two product specialists at Quizlet, and the relationship, again, that we have with our agents, our managers, and the teams we support, I think we feel very empowered to just take a beat and try to understand what goal it is that we're trying to achieve and resolve for whatever this total chaos is we're trying to avoid. A lot of this will also happen with team retrospectives. Another thing that we'll do is a postmortem. And postmortems are held when, if we launch something and it doesn't quite go according to plan, let's just say it goes to total chaos, we'll resolve it as quickly as we can, and then we'll host a meeting with the teams that were involved to talk about what happened. And I use the term cradle to grave quite a bit. So, when a project is sort of in its infancy to when it hit that total chaos and then to resolution, what happened there? What can we do to make sure it doesn't happen next time? And this happens with both Jordan's teams that he supports and mine as well. And I find that to be really helpful because you learn a lot as you evolve. And Jordan,
yeah, totally. Just piggybacking off what you shared, I think having the buy-in from our team and really leaning into processes, particularly when those user reported bugs or maybe things go off the rails a little bit. Here at Quizlet, we have on-call processes, so working with those engineers who are on standby essentially to when things crop up like this to address. And so at that point, it's really just about PSS capturing that signal and making sure that the folks who can address those user reported bugs and issues have everything that they need to be able to take action there.
And Lexi, I see you said, thanks, you're welcome. That was a fun question. Going to Scott's, how did you come up with ticket taxonomy? Are there good resources for it that you recommend? So kind of echoing what I said, I think answering Lexi's question, Jordan and I will sort of tackle on a project and think about what it is that we are trying to achieve. So ticket taxonomy, I believe we did in the fall of 2019, and it's since evolved quite a bit as we've added and deprecated features to the product. So this was a process that Jordan and I are still learning quite a bit from, but I remember sitting there and being like, what could someone possibly be writing in about the product for? What have they, we migrated to Zendesk that summer. So it was a new tool. So we're able to take our learnings from Desk, which was our ticketing tool prior to Zendesk, and sort of add and change or add the ticket taxonomy that way. But I remember sitting down with a spreadsheet being like, this is what I think we should add, collaborating as a team. And something that I had mentioned is, the product is continuing to change. So if we're involved in meetings with our teams about what it is they're trying to either add or take away, as we have deprecated some things, users are still going to write in about that. So we wouldn't necessarily want to remove the taxonomy on a feature that doesn't necessarily exist anymore. For good resources, we did some good old Googling for that, and trial and error, and getting together to sort of see how our reporting was going as tickets were coming in. We trained our agents on this is what we have right now, and we have a very fluid relationship with them in our Slack conversations where this is missing. Are we tagging this correctly? Because data is incredibly important to everyone, as we really want to be delivering and understanding the feature request changes that our users are asking for. But yeah, it's with Zendesk, it's pretty seamless to add additional drop downs. And as we change, we're able to manipulate the product and use it the way that we want it to. And it's been incredibly fruitful. Jordan, if you have anything you'd like to add.
No, that's good. And just looking, I see the next couple of questions, maybe from Jamie and Tim, that I think are, that I think we can bunch those together. So at Quizlet, we have a user operations team where myself and Liz, as product support specialists, we are members of the user ops team. We members of the user ops team are also support operations. And so as product support specialists, we sort of we're paired with our product engineering teams. Our support agents know that either, hey, myself or Liz, we're working with those teams on those particular areas. And so we're sort of that go-between. And so if there is a bug or an issue that crops up, support will capture that, begin to document things, and then we as PSS will sort of facilitate that final triage and escalating it to our teams. So again, our support agents know, hey, Jordan's really focused and working closely with this area of the product. So when those things crop up, we sort of, facilitate that through the product support specialist to bridge that gap.
One thing I wanted to speak to for Tim's question is doing UAT, which if anyone's unfamiliar, it's a user accepted testing. We do internal UAT before production. It's slightly different depending on what it is that we're rolling out, A/B testing or like a full sort of product overhaul. It is the responsibility of product, but we are involved. We'll do QA testing and sit and sort of follow some documentation for cradle to graving the experience that they are wanting to be sure is going to be seamless for the user as we roll it out completely. There is a lot of trust there, as I said, but part of that trust and relationship is the fact that Jordan and I are very involved in the rolling out and testing. And then for the support team reports too, Jordan had highlighted in the presentation that we have SMEs, subject matter experts, that are part of our agent groups. And so there is a lot of sort of like codependency there where these SMEs are subject matter experts. They know the product inside and out. They're very closely trained on any changes that are happening, but it allows for not everything to necessarily come and rest on Jordan and my shoulders once something has been rolled out. But that's where that standardizing templates for when bug JIRA or JIRA is being created, those biweekly trainings and meetings that we have with them, those again have been like really sort of great in integrating to the partner teams. They don't necessarily work with our engineering managers and product managers as directly as Jordan and I do, but everyone's very aware of the relationship. I hope that answers your question, Jamie. Scott, your question, how do you deal with stale documentation? The dream would be not to have any, but such is life. Jordan and I have been working on a way to distribute product documentation ownership for our teams. And we use Slack, JIRA, Confluence is our internal wiki. Everything's pretty searchable and linked, but when it comes to stale documentation, it's pretty standardized for us to really just ask, like, is this up to date? If it's not, like, let's make changes. and even pre-moving to like a remote and hybrid workplace, it was very conversational about updating and ownership for what documentation may be outdated, who needs to own that, where it should be updated, et cetera. And that's gotten much better, but there will still be a document, sort of floating out there that might be slightly outdated. The templated sort of support plans that Jordan and I mentioned does have a last updated line that is expected in anything that we share for trainings. And we have a pretty major, like, see something, say something mindset. Like, this doesn't necessarily feel right, and I'm going to go with my gut and ask. And ownership. If it's not updated, if it's stale, going ahead and running with it, working with the teams to make sure it's up to date, et cetera. Hope that answers it. You're welcome.
And I'll say too,
another facet of user operations at Quizlet is self-service. And we have a fearless content leader who, on the side of help center articles or those macro email responses that agents will use when users write in, we have a fearless content leader who we hold the bi-weekly content parties, we call them, where we just go through, make sure that that documentation accurately reflects, what the experience in the product is at that given time. And so that's been one way that we've been able to make sure reference material for users is accurate.
That actually ties into Tim's question earlier about internal UAT before production. This would be sort of testing while things are in prod and tying into stale documentation. We have an expansive help center, and we do have these meetings with our content owner, and we'll just make sure things are working correctly, updating language here and there, ensuring that platform parity is it's either it exists or it doesn't, who to go to where for what. And a lot comes out of those meetings with ideas and suggestions that Jordan and I can roll up to our teams to be like, we noticed this, have we considered doing this instead? I see a question from Brian Summers about, I heard you are getting feedback through tickets and Slack. Are there other feedback channels you are using? So I would say the biggest, yes, there are other feedback channels that we're using, Zendesk being the main and sort of largest one, and our agents being the first line of defense there, creating these JIRAs. I'm going to say it again with sort of templated expectations. And once we have integrated Jira with our Slack, so once a ticket is created matching certain criteria, Jordan and I are like pinged right away, and we're just like, we need to go get on this. So we use a product called Unit Q, which we've linked to our social media, Zendesk. I'm missing a couple, but we're able to proactively search within Unit Q, see what other user signal might be there, and then link it to that Jira ticket and escalate as necessary. I had mentioned earlier, the see something, say something mindset and the template. We've really empowered our agents to, if it doesn't feel quite right, create the ticket anyway, because the next steps are Jordan and I going and doing additional research. So maybe someone wrote in saying, Quizlet's broken on my iPhone, and we don't know what kind of iPhone they have. We can still go to this Unit Q platform, search under iPhone, see what's going on, and maybe be able to pull stories from other users that have written in. That's enough for our teams to get involved and resolve the issue. Jordan, if you want to add anything.
No, you covered it. I love it.
Great. I see a question from DSW Zoom 3. What's next for Quizlet over the next 2 to 3 years? And I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this. If you guys have any future requests or anything that you'd like to see happen with Quizlet, please let us know. Jordan and I will be involved in any sort of evolutionary conversation. We really want users to feel empowered to come to our platform and confident in the content they are learning to master their goals. When I started at Quizlet 2 years ago, I thought of it only as a sort of student to teacher relationship in the classroom, but we see bird calls and restaurant menu items, et cetera. There's a lot of content out there that if you're interested in learning anything, anything, come check it out. If you found something in the experience that you think could be improved, let us know. Jordan and I care very much about making it the best experience for users, new and old, coming to the platform.
Yeah, and I'll just throw out too,
If you haven't had a chance to check out Quizlet lately, in the spirit of back to school, we've recently launched some really cool new features and experiences for our students and teachers. So yeah, highly recommend getting a chance to check that out. And of course, if you have any feedback, questions, or anything that you notice, Liz and I would be more than happy to hear.
Tim, the platform does support languages other than English. I don't know the language count, but I do know that that would probably be categorized under accessibility. If you see something, a language that you would like to see on Quizlet not supported, we see this quite a bit on, yeah, I can't think of languages that we don't support right now, but we do. It's an international platform. We've got users all over the world using it in a ton of different languages. No problem. Give everyone a couple more minutes. We have until the hour, so Jordan and I are happy to hang out and answer any other questions that you have. But it's an exciting startup week. It's day one. There are other panelists you want to see. Quizlet is sponsoring the developer track, so go check some of those out as well. Oh, that's a great question from Scott. Jordan, I'll let you answer that one first.
cool. Yeah, so
One of the things we've been trying to be more intentional with is really setting up processes, having expectations in place. So, the folks on the product development side of things know what, PSS is going to deliver, how we're going to share that signal, but then likewise, they know that they can count on us to do that, and vice versa. We rely on them to get the details, all of the sort of nuances that are going to live within those experiences. And so it's definitely a two-way street. And I think, yeah, just building rapport. I think Liz and I, we've both been at Quizlet for over 2 years now and work really closely with the teams we support. And so a lot of it comes back to communication, just building that rapport with team members and really learning, what works best based on the given scenario or whatever it is that you and the team are tackling.
And then I'll add, it can be a bit of a song and dance. There could be initial user signal that can be deprioritized, one user writing in, but data is really important, and being able to trust the data that we have is huge. So was that early on large investment in the ticket taxonomy, and the investment that Quizlet has in Jordan and myself and the tools that they're providing for us to sort of like get all the information that we need as largely and as quickly as possible. Unit Q is pretty incredible. It's made a huge difference in my life, being able to report to my teams, and they also have a Slack integration. So we are rolling out a streaks feature where, if you're checking Quizlet every day, every week, you'll get sort of streak updates. It's new. I created a filter early on, and it'll ping my engineering manager, myself, and our product manager once someone mentions the word streak in an email or through our help center. There's a, sort of that can be good and bad. Someone can be writing streaks about something else, but it's immediate signal. Like, let's get into this right away. If there's something we want to monitor closely, something that our teams care deeply about, Jordan and I are empowered and equipped to do that for them. Yeah, no problem. Is your marketing team involved with product development and/or launch product improvement? High level, I would like to say yes, but I'm not as involved with what the marketing team tie into that would look like. So I don't want to incorrectly answer that question, but our marketing team's awesome. They know, and actually, Jordan, since you own the product side of things, I'll let you might have a better answer than I do. Yeah.
No worries. I can jump in and just throw out, yes, our marketing team, we have a product marketing managers who are very involved to make sure, we're communicating any changes or new experiences to those users, how we're going about it, both, in the form of, email or, push notifications, how, things are, really coming together. The product marketing managers play a very involved role in creating a seamless experience for our users.
The other side of things, how do you get product teams to pay attention to user signal while not distracting them from getting in project progress features finished? That's a great question. The teams that I support will definitely make time for highly impacted users if they have a lot of other things on their plate or in their pipeline or sprint to finish. I think understanding that something is impacting our users' experience on the platform is always something to take a moment and consider. And again, it's that trust. Like Liz and Jordan will only escalate to this to us if we A, ask for it, or B, if there's a lot of people writing in and it's causing problems. So, you know, I said it earlier, it is a little bit of a song and dance. Like, when can we push something? When does it need to sort of take over everything as priority zero? Something might, user reported bug or pain point might come in early, and we might not know if it's just a potentially like user error or like one-time glitch, or if it's actually impacting everyone. So Jordan and I will always do our due diligence to collect as much information as possible. We will still triage and transfer the ticket if it's a legitimate bug, but if it's something that needs to be downgraded or sort of like pushed to a little later, Jordan and I are in charge of figuring out how to take care of those users as best as possible. That's a great question. It's the trust building with teams is huge. And one thing that I've really loved about my tenure at Quizlet was, I started in office and then went remote. And so we sort of lost out on that sort of water cooler everyday trust development in person, but that didn't actually change how it was being built in real life. So it's been a pretty incredible experience, and it's been a lot of fun. Cool. Guys have asked some really good questions.
Yeah, thank you for the discussion.
Yeah.
I believe we have
roughly 20-ish support agents right now.
Yes.
Ballpark number.
That's a great question as well. Ballpark number. Of those support agents, there are 2 that are what we would call payments subject matter experts. I believe 2 trust and safety, and then 2 for product. So they are the sort of go-to point people before they come to Jordan and myself if there's anything sort of that we need to be involved with. You bet.
Well, I can
piggyback off of Liz and just say, yeah, thank you everyone for attending, but please, yeah, check out, there's so many great sessions today and throughout the rest of the startup week. I know some fellow Quizleters will be getting a chance to speak, but yeah, just in general, so many great events and opportunities to engage. So highly recommend seeing what else is on the schedule that you want to attend.
Super glad to hear that, Scott. That makes me so happy. It was a really fun presentation to put together with Jordan, and not to gush too much, but I have a background in product and product support, and I've never felt so empowered at a company as I do at Quizlet. Just a lot of investment, and a lot of trust, and a lot of empowerment. If there's something that you want to see done, go do it, and sort of see the fruits of our labor paying off has been great. So your comment, that was wonderful. I'm really glad that you had enjoyed it. Cool. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I think I'm going to end this. Thank you, Emmy. Bye all.